Welcome in, everyone, to Let's Talk College Football. Today we are going to be giving our initial playoff predictions. Let's get right into it. So first off, Landon, justify your Alabama pick at number 1.
Yeah, so a lot of people have Georgia at number 1, seeing that they have an easy schedule. They're predicting an undefeated season. I'm predicting Alabama for those same reasons. Alabama doesn't have a super hard schedule either, and they also have a roster at the level of Georgia. I think this is going to be, it's kind of funny to call it a bounce back year, but by Alabama standards, a bounce back year. I think Nick Saban's going to get his team going, get them ready to play this season, and I think that they'll pull off an undefeated season.
Yeah, a bounce back from a Sugar Bowl is always a fun
Yeah.
season. So, yeah. Okay, Ethan, talk about Georgia.
It's kind of hard to not just talk about back-to-back champions without saying they're back-to-back champions, and why not put them at 1? Because I think biggest what if is how the quarterback is going to. I forget his name.
Carson Beck.
Yeah, Carson Beck. What he's going to do to start the year, because obviously that's the biggest what if for most of the top teams in the country. But with how good everyone on Georgia is, especially with Brock Bowers on the team, it's hard to think that they're not going to produce. So I think I just have them as my number 1 because you can't really say otherwise personally.
Yeah, I don't see a ton of scenarios in which they're not in the college football playoff. I think their regular season schedule sets up well enough that maybe there's only a couple of tests on the schedule. I am predicting Georgia to go 12-0, 13-0, and win the SEC championship game, probably against Alabama, who I think that will probably give them 2 losses. So yeah, I'm going Georgia number 1. I just think their schedule sets up really, really nicely. Okay, let's talk about number 2. Clean Michigan sweep across the board.
Yeah, so as you can see, all 3 of us have Michigan across the board here. I'll start out and give some of my reasoning why I think this may be. I think they're a super safe pick with a really talented returning quarterback, which a lot of the top teams don't have, as well as a really solid offensive and defensive line, and just returning a ton of production in general.
What do you think, Ethan?
Sorry, my mic was muted. I think Landon hit all the points really. That defense is going to be really good again. J.J. McCarthy's awesome. Blake Corum is awesome. Jim Harbaugh is a really good coach. Or is it John Harbaugh? Jim Harbaugh. He's a really good coach. I think, obviously, with the big win against Ohio State last year was a big crowning moment for them. And I think with a tough loss to TCU in the playoff last year, I think this is a big bounce back season for Michigan. Like we talked about with Bama, it's kind of funny to say a bounce back season after making it to the playoff. But I think Michigan is going to have a fire lit under them because of that TCU loss. They're going to run the table and go undefeated for most of the year, if not the whole year.
Yeah, there were a few factors for me that led me to picking Michigan number 2. First, I think the ease of schedule is really easy for them. They don't really play that many teams that can challenge them. They really just have 2 games on the schedule, at Penn State and versus Ohio State. So my prediction is they get through those 2 games just fine. I think another thing that they have going for them is coaching continuity and roster continuity. Like Landon mentioned, J.J. McCarthy returns, one of the only top teams to return a proven quarterback. So I like that team. I think they're going to make it. Okay, let's go into the number 3 position.
Yeah, so I'll start this one off here. We've already talked quite a bit about Georgia, so I won't dwell too long on them, but obviously a super solid roster. I'm just predicting them to lose to Alabama in the SEC championship. So that would put them at a 12-1 record, probably coming up number 3 or potentially number 2 in the college football playoff.
So I got Notre Dame here. I think it's one of probably my biggest hot take, biggest outlier throughout the season. I'm a firm believer in what Notre Dame can do. I think they were just missing really productive and efficient quarterback play last year. And I think Sam Hartman is the perfect piece for this Notre Dame team. I really like the returning production, especially in the running back room and especially on the defensive side of the ball. They're going to be really fun to watch. Obviously, we see them. They have 3 big games this year against Ohio State, USC, and Clemson. Ohio State and USC, them being at home. So I feel like Notre Dame at home against those 2 teams gives them a big advantage. And I think they come out on top against those guys, which will lead them probably to be 11-1 with a loss to Clemson. Which I think
that
Tanner
probably gets them in.
And I think that gets him. And Tanner can talk about Clemson for us right here, actually.
Yeah, I'm really high on Clemson. I'm a lot higher on Clemson than I think the majority of college football is. I think people forgot too quickly about what Clemson has done over the last decade. I mean, they have 2 national titles over the last decade, which is an unbelievable achievement. So I think people are sleeping on them. In the 247 Sports talent composite poll, they are the number 5 overall team. So this isn't like picking some underdog Cinderella story. This team has, like, flat out has one of the best rosters in the country. I think that offense that was a weakness last year is going to be a massive strength this year. Getting Garrett Riley from TCU and Cade Klubnik taking a step forward. I really believe in Cade Klubnik. I think Clemson is going to be much improved. They're my pick to win the ACC, and I think they're going to make the playoff, make a triumphant return. Okay, let's move on to the 4th seed in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'll start this off with FSU, conference mate of Clemson. I like FSU over Clemson just because of how much returning proven production they have. They're going to have an extremely strong offensive line, not to mention their incredible quarterback, who I am a big fan of. He's deadly on the ground running. He's deadly through the air. Jordan Travis is all around just going to be one of the best players in college football this year.
Jordan Travis is probably one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and he is no doubt in my mind going to get an invitation to New York at the end of the year for the Heisman finalists, especially if FSU is winning like me and Landon both presume they do. Again, I just really like the skill players around Jordan Travis as well. He has a lot of weapons to use, not just himself, which I think some of those other top quarterbacks in the country lack. So I think FSU is going to be really good this year. I can see them probably getting in here undefeated, probably with a 1 loss. I don't know where that loss comes from, but I do see them coming in as 11-1 conference champions and just being the 4th seed in the college football playoff.
Yeah, I like FSU. I'm not as high as them on U2. I think they probably are going to have 2 losses is what I would predict. I think that LSU game is really tough, and I think to win the ACC, more than likely, they're going to have to beat Clemson twice, I think. And I just think that's a really, really tough task for them. And so they would be pretty close to my playoff, and if they beat LSU, like, pretty good, then, I mean, I would certainly consider, putting them in my top 4. But yeah, I'm going to lean Clemson right now. And for my number 4, I have Ohio State. Number 3 in the 247 Sports Talent Composite. Should be a really strong defense this year, which you haven't really been able to say of Ohio State in years past. Offense, best receiver group in the country. Marvin Harrison Jr., maybe it is, almost certainly going to be a top 5 pick. I think that the quarterback is probably the big question. How can Kyle McCord do, or does Devin Brown step in and take a few reps? We'll see. But I just think the talent is good. The schedule sets up well for them. And I think that they probably get in at 11-1, similar to last year, not making the Big Ten title game, but getting in just by virtue of their 1 loss to an undefeated Michigan team.
Yeah, I could 100% see that.
Okay. Thank you all very much for listening. Keep an eye out. We're putting these on Spotify as well, so that if you prefer Spotify to YouTube, those will be up there shortly. Keep an eye out for that. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let us know if our picks are crazy. Let us know your personal top 4. I'd like to see what you guys choose. And thank you very much. We'll see you next week.
Also, follow